Okay, we're going to make a bat house, and it's going to be about 18 inches wide and 3 feet tall. And we're going to use 3/4 inch plywood for the back, and then the same 3/4 inch plywood for the sides, and 1/2 inch for the front, just to make it a little less heavy. And also 3/4 inch for the little roof across the top to try to keep it dry. And we're going to have it's going to have 3 chambers in it, and they're going to be this thinner material on the inside, two layers of that, about almost an inch apart. Okay, out of that 2-foot wide piece of 3/4 inch plywood, I'm going to use these. This is about 18 inches across the middle, and then the last 6 inches is split in half, and then these are going to be the side pieces. And then I'm making 45-degree angles off of each corner for the roof, and at the bottom just for a bevel for the bats to fly in and out. And we're going to lay this back across there, and I'm going to pre-drill, say 3 holes, and screw those in. But first we want to caulk these edges so that connection is airtight. We're putting 4 screws across the back down into the side walls, and it doesn't matter exactly where, or if you wanted to do 3 or 5, but I'm doing 4, and I'm just putting them roughly on the outer edge, countersinking it a little bit. Placing the screw. And then you can wipe off the caulk that gets squished out. Okay, we have the back and the sides together, and we've got this 2-foot long piece of the 1/2 inch plywood, and just laying it on there to measure this roof. I've got the 3/4 inch piece, and I'm laying that against it, and then all of this is going to be caulked. These gaps, the gap across the back, we'll just caulk the bejesus out of that gap so that no air or water gets back there. And then I'm just roughly marking an extra inch hangover on the sides and the front, and it's basically flush in the back. Okay, you ready to film something? We're going to use some plastic mesh down here, stapled down to the inside on each layer. So we want to paint this section before we put down the mesh, not after. I used this gutter guard mesh. It's a 6-inch wide mesh, and I used it in 3 sections, and just used a stapler to staple it down. And that's why I wanted to paint that part first, because I wouldn't be able to paint that. This thin board is going to be there's 2 of these inside, which makes 3 chambers, and each one's separated by a 3/4 inch board. And then I'm adding a section that we're cutting off here. I'm adding some of these, and this will be closer to an inch for each chamber. So right now I'm just marking this edge up, this edge of waste from the chamber layer to get 4 of these pieces. Okay, on these two interior chamber walls, the thinner boards, it does have a rougher side that's fine, and then it has this smooth side that I am going to add this mesh, and we're just stapling that on to here. This is the first chamber layer, so we have the 1x2, which is actually 3/4 inches high, and the small piece that brings it up closer to an inch on each side, and those are as long as these sections. I'm going to leave a small gap, maybe 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch at the top, to let air flow around the top under the roof, and just keeping these flush at the bottom. Going to put the top on here now, and I want to use the table to make sure it's flush with the back, and then I'm only going to be able to caulk this edge and this corner, and then we'll re-caulk the extra gaps for water. Okay, this is where it's all together. I got the front on. I still need to cut a gap or a vent up here. I was supposed to have a 1/4 inch gap, but instead I'm just going to use a row of larger drill holes, and then that'll give ventilation through the bottom, and then the top chamber boards don't go all the way to the top, so the air should be able to circulate. And then I'm going to get some of that spray foam that hardens to fill in some of these gaps across the back and the corners that I can cut and paint, and then re-caulk some of the gaps and paint. We'll do that next. I used the foam sealant that expands to fill cracks for windows and doors, and it's set overnight so it's hard, and then it filled in these gaps on the corners and across the front, and you just want to cut that off flush, and you'll be able to paint that or whatever you need to do to sand it and paint it, and that'll be protected from the wind, the drafts, and the water. Okay, we're done painting the bat house brown, and we're just going to do the bat logo spray paint with a lighter color so that the bats know where their house is, even though they can't see it. And I've got it taped down in 4 corners. There's a completed bat house. There's still some paint drying on there, but it's basically 3 feet tall and about 17 inches wide, and there's 3 chambers inside. Each of them was somewhere between 3/4 and 1 inch tall, and I'll place this out at my dad's place, and if it gets any bats, I'll post an update. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thanks for watching.